Welcome back to Have Your Say. This is our last episode with Kenneth Schultz, discussing his books and the problems outlined in his books, but now we're discussing the solution, how we can save the Western civilization. So I went through again of your 21 sort of solutions and suggestions, what can we do to defend our Western civilization. And I picked 4. And one of my favorite, I have to say, is that deport refugee criminals. How do you envisage that, Kent?
Well, I have to say that it's already happening in our country, and this is more credit to our government, but they are being deported on the basis of their criminality, and obviously you can't deport them for stealing a loaf of bread as the people originally came to this country. But if they've committed a serious crime, and that is determined by the length of jail sentence, if they've served a reasonable sentence, that's a serious crime, and they are immigrants, refugees or whatever, deport them. And I have to say to our government's credit, that is already happening. There's been quite a few deportations. There's also quite a few people in detention centres waiting deportation as they work their way through the courts, and eventually, hopefully, they will be deported. So I applaud the government on a very good move.
But how does it set? So if you a migrant to here and your kid is born in here and he or she is an Australian citizen and you became an Australian citizen and you got your 6th generation from Germany. So if you commit a serious crime, you go back to Germany? Or how do you want to see that implemented?
No, I don't think they can deport you if you've got your citizenship. But these are people that haven't got their citizenship. But yes, if they got family here, and it's already happened, it's been in the papers, somebody is sent back to England because he committed a serious crime and he's got a family here. Tough, but that's what happens.
The next one, which I marked, make it an offence to implement sharia law.
Yes.
What does it mean? How do you want to see that, Kent?
Well, just that it should enter our legal system that there is only one law in Australia. That's the law determined by the Parliament and by the judges by common law.
Yeah.
And we don't need any other laws.
But if someone decided sharia law, they want to lobby for that and want to convince the politicians to make it into our constitution or make a law which is say, this is a sharia law, such and such, and we would like to have that seen in Australia to implement it. Well, and became part of the law of the land.
We don't need it. I've mentioned sharia law before. It's a totalitarian system. We don't need it.
It is, but how do you want to filter that? So make it an offence to implement sharia law. So not an offence if someone is suggesting and lobbying for.
Well,
or how do you see? So
you know,
the practicality which I'm thinking our viewers are interested. So how does it work?
Well, even promoting it, it's not a good idea because it is now being implemented by stealth here and in other countries. So it should be just banned. We should have some legislation saying that all people living in this country will live by Australian law.
Probably Aboriginal says we don't need the fucking Western law. We lived thousands and tens of thousands of years without your law. We're not asking you to come here and to give us your law. We got our law. So fuck off. So what do you say on that?
Well, bad luck. They couldn't defend it. Every nation throughout history is being invaded. If you can't stem the invaders, you then submit to the invaders. And that's all I can say. It might sound tough. But again, look at where the Aboriginals are today compared to where they would have been, you know, scrounging for food and drought, killing each other. They now, most of them live under Australian law and they've got welfare, they've got health, they've got houses to live in, and they're pretty well off. Doesn't matter what they say, they're pretty well off. Okay,
so never mind their own law, you think they have to accept our law as well. Okay, next one. That's not that controversial, but I just like this one as well. Case taxpayer funding of left-wing propaganda organizations. So how does it work? Because as we discussed that in previous episode, we find out so many left-wing propaganda organizations are privately funded by some foundation or Soros or whoever, so they got reasonable good funding. Are we providing government or taxpayer funding for left-wing organizations? Give us an example of that.
Well, there's one prime example.
Yes.
It's called the ABC.
The ABC as a left-wing propaganda organization.
Yes, yes. A lot of people, particularly of the conservative persuasion like myself, will regard it as just that. They're soaking up $1 billion of taxpayer funding each year.
That's
and
correct.
A lot of the stuff they're putting out is left-wing stuff, and as far as I'm concerned, the original ABC has outlived its usefulness. There was a need for it once, but now let them survive on their own. Let them keep going. I've got no problem about that, but let them fund themselves. If need be, privatise it or put it on the Australian Stock Exchange, sell shares, sell commercials and stand on their own feet. So let them keep going, but all I'm against is the taxpayers' funding.
Money.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, which I really like, again, and just want to know, how do you envisage to get these recommendations into action? You give me a few reasons for the previous one. So what do you say about that? Take back education system from Gramsci Marxist to prevent indoctrination of our youth.
Well, we've got to work hard. That one they've infiltrated so well that right through our education system now, and teachers' unions.
So can't you say basically we need an educational reform?
We do, indeed we do. And take it back to what it used to be. I mean, when I went through the education system, we didn't have any of this. We didn't have gender fluidity and all this other crazy stuff that's crept in. And we did have some discipline in my time, and we took notice of what the teachers said. And today, I think if the student doesn't like them, they punch the teacher.
Yeah, because you got the freedom. You do whatever you like because you are free. Yeah. Is that true?
Well, they think they are, but I mean, it's ruining the education system.
The most controversial in the 21, probably for everyone, but for some definitely, is point 19. Case funding of climate change projects. You're not serious, Ken?
I'm very serious. It's absolute rubbish.
So you don't believe in climate change?
I don't like the word belief.
No,
the left side believe in it.
Yes, I definitely use that word for a reason.
Yeah, my side of it doesn't use the word belief. We work on science, facts, figures. Now,
but where are the facts, figures? Because no one stands up and say, okay, I challenge this and that, and this is my science, and this is the science which is misled you. So I never see in the past 5 years a presentation which is say, this is what you get, this is what really is, and this is what we should or should not do. I never see that sort of presentation.
There's a very good reason for that, because the climate
or very rarely, sorry.
The alarmists, if I like to call them, do not want to debate, because theirs is a belief, a religion, and they can't really debate it. They can call you a denier and all the rest of it, but they don't want to debate because they don't have facts and figures. They make outrageous
comments.
They
got facts and figures, they say, because they're quoting the facts and figures. They're not saying how many degrees was that on, and how many degrees with the 1.5% on the top.
1.5 degrees, I think.
Oh, 1.5 degrees, sorry. They're not saying how many degrees was when the Industrial Revolution started, and they're not saying,
no, they just
at the 1.5 degrees, how many degrees is that? And if it's in summer, winter, spring, or autumn. No one say that one either.
No.
So, but they got a figure.
They love to pluck these figures out and put them out in the media, mindlessly repeat them.
But do you want to see renewable energy take big part of the energy supply?
They do, but that's...
But do you want to see, or you believe that is a good way to go? The part of, completely part of the, separate from the climate change or the warming up. That technology, do you think is something which is worth to have?
It can be an assistance, but you still need base load power if you're going to have reliable electricity. And there's only two places to get that: coal-fired power stations and nuclear power stations. All of this renewable stuff, when the wind stops or the sun goes down, it's gone.
Sorry, Kent, are we, as citizens of this bloody country, are we just happy to pay money for the energy companies and to the government as tax and so on and so forth, to suffer from the raising price of energy and believe and listen to the stupidity what they're talking in Parliament, and not going to the streets and demand these politicians take seriously the resources what we got and act immediately. They can act 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and if they acted, we're not talking about shit now, because we got solution, and we can work on other solutions, because that's give us a time window. So
Well,
why
it's
it's
a
not
pity.
happening?
We've got weak politicians, and
But we got weak. No, the politicians are just slimy. They're not weak, they're not strong. They're slimy. They're
you said it, not me.
No, I'm saying it because I believe in that, unfortunately, and I experienced some of the sliminess of politics in my life.
I would like to just finish up with a quote from Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Some people will love you for that, some people will hate you for that.
Two
Let's
things.
hear
He's
what
made
you
a
say.
magnificent speech in Poland, and I'd urge people to go and read that speech. He really spoke about the will of the West to survive. But the thing that I want to quote him on is, the fundamental question of our time is whether the West has the will to survive.
I would like to thank you for coming in and discussing your wonderful book about the Western civilization and the problems and the dangers, what we're experiencing these days. And I recommend everyone to read the book. Thank you for watching. Next week, same time, same channel. Have yourself.